It is now 5 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm Jeffrey Miller. I'm the Director of Speech and Debate at MARIST School, and on behalf of our program, as well as our entire school, I want to thank you for attending the 2022 St. Genesius Classic, an asynchronous speech tournament. This is the first time MARIST School's ever hosted a speech tournament, so we're excited that we had you attend. We had 250 entries from 25 schools and 14 different states. This award ceremony will go over all of the awards and all of the students who reached elimination rounds. We will begin today with dramatic interpretation. In 7th place, in dramatic interpretation, from Strive Prep in Colorado. In 6th place, in dramatic interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. In 5th place in dramatic interpretation, from St. Mary's Hall in Texas. In 4th place in dramatic interpretation, from Peoria in Ohio. Our 3rd place finisher in dramatic interpretation, from Russellville, Arkansas. The runner-up in dramatic interpretation at the 2022 St. Genesius Classic, from Morristown West in Tennessee, which means your champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in dramatic interpretation, from Lange Youth Leadership in Michigan. The next event is humorous interpretation. In 6th place, NHI, from Morristown West in Tennessee. In 5th place, from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. 4th place in humorous interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. 3rd place, humorous interpretation, from Northview in Georgia. Your runner-up in humorous interpretation, from Bishop Shanahan in Pennsylvania, which means the champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in humorous interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. The next event, duo interpretation. In 5th place in duo interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. 4th place, from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. Our 3rd place in duo interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. The runner-up this year in duo interpretation, from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. That means your champion in duo interpretation at the 2022 St. Genesius Classic is from Morristown West in Tennessee. Our next event will be programmed oral interpretation. In 7th place, from Morristown West in Tennessee. The 6th place in programmed oral interpretation, from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. 5th place in POI, from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. 4th place in programmed oral interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. 3rd place in program oral interpretation, from Morristown West in Tennessee. Your runner-up, from Bishop Shanahan in Pennsylvania, which means your champion in programmed oral interpretation at the 2022 St. Genesius Classic is from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. The next event will be Improv Duo. In 5th place in Improv Duo, from Morristown West in Tennessee. Your fourth place in improv duo from MARIST School in Georgia. The third place team in improv duo, although it says duo interpretation, that is my fault, from MARIST School in Georgia. Your runner-up in improv duo from Sequoia, Georgia, which means your champion of improv duo from Weston, Tennessee. The next event is informative speaking. Congratulations to the non-advancing semifinalists. Advancing to finals, finishing sixth place in informative speaking from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. Fifth place in informative speaking from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. Fourth place in informative speaking from Northview in Georgia. Third place in informative speaking from Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. Your runner-up in informative speaking from Dowling Catholic in Iowa, which means your champion at the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in informative speaking comes from MARIST School from Georgia. The next event is original oratory. We'd first like to congratulate the non-advancing semifinalists. Advancing to finals and finishing in sixth place from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. In original oratory, finishing fifth place from Morristown West in Tennessee. In fourth place from Dowling Catholic in Iowa. The third place finisher in original oratory from Morristown West in Tennessee. Your runner-up in original oratory from Foothill, California. And your champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in original oratory from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. The next event will be Pro-Con Challenge. In sixth place in the Pro-Con Challenge from MARIST School, Georgia. In fifth place in the Pro-Con Challenge from MARIST School, Georgia. The fourth place is also from MARIST School in Georgia. The third place in the Pro-Con Challenge comes from MARIST School in Georgia. Your runner-up in the Pro-Con Challenge also comes from MARIST School in Georgia. So that means your champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in the Pro-Con Challenge comes from Logan, Utah. The next event is radio broadcasting. In seventh place from Langy Youth Leadership in Michigan. Sixth place goes to Langy Youth Leadership in Michigan. The fifth place from in radio broadcasting comes from Morristown West in Tennessee. The fourth place in radio broadcasting goes to MARIST School in Georgia. Third place in broadcasting from Langy Youth Leadership in Michigan, which means the runner-up in radio broadcasting goes to Langy Youth Leadership in Michigan, which leaves your champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in radio broadcasting to Logan, Utah. Our next event is domestic extemporaneous speaking. Before we award the top 6, first, your non-advancing semifinals. In 6th place in domestic extemp, from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. 5th place in domestic extemp, from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. 4th place goes to Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. 3rd place is awarded to Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. Your runner-up in domestic extemp, from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota, which means the champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in domestic extemporaneous speaking goes to MARIST School in Georgia. The next event is International Extemp. In 7th place. 7th place goes to Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. 6th place goes to MARIST School in Georgia. 5th place in International Extemp, Aberdeen Central, South Dakota. 4th place in International Extemp, Langy Youth Leadership from Michigan. 3rd place, International Extemp, from MARIST School in Georgia. Your runner-up in International Extemp, from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota, which means your champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in International Extemp, Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. The next event is impromptu speaking. First, we'd like to congratulate the non-advancing semifinalists. Advancing to finals and finishing in 6th place, from Langy Youth Leadership in Michigan. Our 5th place finisher, from Morristown West in Tennessee. 4th place goes to MARIST School in Georgia. 3rd place goes to Langy Youth Leadership in Michigan. Your runner-up in impromptu speaking goes to Morristown West in Tennessee, which means the champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic in impromptu speaking goes to MARIST School in Georgia. That concludes all 12 events, and we will now award the individual sweepstakes. In 5th place, earning 27 points, from Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. The 4th place in individual sweepstakes goes to Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. The 3rd place recipient, from Morristown West in Tennessee, which makes the individual runner-up at the St. Genesius Classic also from Morristown West in Tennessee with 32 points. And the individual champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic from MARIST School in Georgia, earning 57 points. We'll now go to the team sweepstakes. Finishing in 5th place at the St. Genesius Classic, Strive Prep Rise in Colorado. In 4th place, earning 60 points, Langy Youth Leadership from Michigan. 3rd place, earning 116 points, from Morristown West in Tennessee. The runner-up of the St. Genesius Classic, 118 points, goes to MARIST School, Georgia. So the champion of the 2022 St. Genesius Classic for team sweepstakes with 123 points goes to Aberdeen Central in South Dakota. Congratulations to all of our award recipients. Full results will now be able to be found on taproom.com. Thank you again for attending, and we hope to see you in the future.